Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stars and Stripes throwback season on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you for joining with us on your Thursday night. We are ready for a good one. Last week was incredible at Five Flag Speedway, side-by-side racing with that Joshua Robinson and Thomas Ogle that came down to the very end. And tonight, it's that of the Stars and Stripes Southern 200 at Darlington. We're expecting just as an incredible finish here this evening. We cannot wait for it. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me here this evening, gonna be that of Zach Hall. Zach, I mean, after last week, there's not many races that could top that finish that we just had.
It was a classic, Sam, that's for sure, especially at that classic old track of Five Flag Speedway. That was excellent to see, and they get to a track just as historic as that one here at the Lady in Black Darlington Raceway. And another big key factor, 3 races to go before the playoffs kick off, so these next 3 races starting tonight will be very critical to, help your chances.
And here on screen, as the drivers are underway with qualifying, probably the favorite driver tonight, a driver that's found himself in victory lane 2 times in the past seasons. It's going to be that of Kyle McCoy, and for the 28, certainly has found his way in victory lane twice, like I just noted on, but he's been one of the drivers that can lead the most laps at almost every single time we came to this track. I mean, Zach, that is true dominance, and he's already at top of the board right now for the pole.
Showing what the history has shown for sure. So history does repeat itself, and we're seeing that here with Kyle McCoy so far with the speed he's shown. Let's see if he can pick up any here on this second lap, as it was a little bit quicker in the practice session. He'll cross the line here, and he'll pick up a couple hundredths to bring it down to a 30.014 to just top Scott Rickard.
Scott Rickard's got one more lap to go, but Nate Lynch going to be top of the board for the 1. And Nate Lynch has also done quite well at this track in the past, as here comes the 8 machine of Zach, going to be actually the Jason Gratton, about to be starting his first lap as he's on the warm-up through 3 and 4. And Zach, with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left, this track, the driver's got to be on it, but at the same time, qualifying can be very difficult to get that track position.
It is so critical that, the track position is everything here when it comes to this racetrack. It's so tough to pass, with it being mostly one groove that makes the speed around this racetrack. Qualifying can be that critical moment to help better your chances for these races. And Scott Rickard with a blinder of a time there with the 29.88 as he's trying to get back to some of the success he had earlier this season before we kick off into those playoffs. But yeah, man, this track, so easy to make mistakes also in qualifying. If you touch that wall, which is the preferred groove around this racetrack, is as close to that wall as possible. If you touch that wall, you get that 0x incident contact, and that will disqualify your time, so it will not count. So you got to be very careful, trying to carry as much speed as possible, but not overstepping those boundaries.
And qualifying, so important. 3 out of the 4 races that have been ran here in the past have been drivers that got the pole, had the most laps led, and then won the race. So drivers understand how important that track position can be. As Jason Gratton crossed the line for his final lap, it's a good one for himself, as it is going to bounce this 8 up to 3rd place, and Zach Kreitz going to follow suit in 4th. As those 2 red machines going to be hoping to find their speed. But last week's winner, Joshua Robinson, he's hoping to get another pole on his list that he's grabbed so far this season.
And he's going to have to beat the driver that he beat last week at Five Flag Speedway, his teammate Thomas Ogle, with a super fast time, a 29.806. We'll see, can Robinson come close to that? In practice, he ran a 29.91, so he's going to need some pickup from that practice session. But we'll see what he can do as he drops low on the back straightaway here. Looks like going to lose some speed, but we'll see what this first time will equate to for him, as this is his very first lap. And the second lap seems to be where the speed has been.
Looking for that little extra something out of turn number 4. Starting the second lap is the 10 machine. And that first lap going to be very quick, but it is looking for something a little bit extra. We saw that looseness out of the corner of turns 2 last lap, and it looks out of control once again. Zach, this 10 is searching for everything right now.
He is on the grip limit for sure, as they would say, and right now trying to find as much speed as possible. He's going to get very close to the wall. He's going to touch it, and guess what? That lap now will not count. So he's got to stick with the 30.91, which keeps him back all the way in the 21st position. The only driver he bettered was Diego Valle, who also had his own issues on his second lap.
Diego Valle's lap did not count on that second one. He'll have to settle for 21st and 20th for Joshua Robinson as qualifying is officially done. Drivers, get ready. It is time for some amazing racing action here tonight at Darlington for 147 laps. And let's see how they're going to be starting out here tonight for that of the Stars and Stripes Southern 200. Taking the pole award, going to be that of Thomas Ogle. Didn't get the win last week, but he's starting in the right foot here tonight in the Lady in Black, with that of Scott Rickard going to be in second place. Ross Tatum going to be finding himself in third. Jason Gratton going to be in fourth. Andrew Medlin in fifth. Zach Kreitz in sixth. Nate Lynch in seventh. That of Andrew Hess going to be in 8th. 9th going to go to Kyle McCoy. And 10th place going to go to that of Christopher Wade.
Starting in the 11th position, it's going to be the 6 of Will Bustler. Followed alongside him in 12th, it's going to be Kyle Bowling. 13th is going to go to Brian Lynch, with 14th place being Trey Jackson. 15th is going to be Aaron Hale. Mike Lynch will start in 16th. 17th is going to go to Dylan Grimm. 18th is going to be Jonathan Woods. 19th is going to be George Kovacic. And the last two cars on our field, Joshua Robinson in 20th and 21st of Diego Valle. And also Derek Offerman in 22nd.
Derek Offerman not able to put a time in, actually came into the server, then got disconnected. He has not reconnected back into the server, so the 20 machine most likely gonna have to start in pit row. That is a tough pill to swallow, but expecting 21 to be starting off here tonight with that 31 machine up front. Zach Thomas Ogle, this is gonna be feeling great for this 31 machine. Last time he got the pole was gonna be back at that of the Nashville Fairgrounds, but he's been in the pole twice so far. The last time he went to Victory Lane was back at Nashville Fairgrounds. He's gonna be hoping he can do the same thing here tonight, and honestly, being up front and in that better track position, like I said, best place to be. The last race these drivers had back in season 4, the only race where the pole sitter did not win.
Well, we'll see what he can do from this pole position. I mean, he's been so fast all season long, and I think the strength that, in my opinion, he's had over a lot of drivers is in these tire wear racetracks where the tires are just so important and the wear is very high in abrasive surfaces. He has been the driver to beat, in my opinion, especially the last 5 to 6 races. He's really just picked up that whole game of the 31 team, and I would not be surprised to be him to be a dominant force here tonight, but he's got some very hungry drivers behind him, such as Ross Tatum there in third, of course Scott Rickard there in second, and Gratton qualifying in that 4th position. That's got to be a big motivational boost to that 8 team to try to go out there and see if they can get their first win this season.
In Darlington, the track pretty difficult to make passes on. Very much of a 1-lane course, can be worked out to be 2 wide. Some drivers might even test 3 wide at moments, but your most important goal is get up front, get that track position, and hold on. Thomas Ogle going to be in that controlled vehicle here this evening. Drivers are in a very interesting, though, situation here tonight. Looking at the situation of the tires, drivers are dealing with unlimited tire sets for this race. There is no just 3 sets in pit road here tonight. They will be maximizing if we get a lot of cautions as the pace car is off. So we're gonna have no stage break, no fast repairs, 147 laps ready to go green. And here we go as we see that 31 to 32 down into turn number 1.
Dead even start, and even a little bit better for Scott Rickard on the outside line. He's actually going to have a huge advantage here, being on that outer groove, and immediately going to get overtaken around the outside by the 32 of Scott Rickard is Thomas Ogle.
What a power move by that of Scott Rickard, but is he being too aggressive? Thomas Ogle might be already thinking about the long run in these early portions, but Scott Rickard wanting the lead and wanting to lead this first lap, get that bonus point, and here comes the 32 leading lap number 1 here tonight as the Southern 200 officially underway. That of Ross Tatum going to be in third. 4th is Andrew Medlin, and Nate Lynch already up 2 positions in 5th place.
We did just have some contact farther back in the field. Aaron Hill, he's very slow coming off of turn 2, and actually just coming up now, required damage flag for Aaron Hill, so I think some suspension damage there. You can also see Dylan Grimm, he's checked up from all of this, so right here in the back, a early restart or early mishap here on lap number 2.
Dylan Grimm, surprised he did not get given that of required damage for himself. He got very hard contact into the inside wall. Another driver struggling, just got into the outside wall. That's the 9 machine of Zach Kreitz, who's now in 15th position. drivers left, right, and center now starting to have issues. 3 already so far as Aaron Hill's into pit road.
This is why they call it the track too tough to tame, man. It's just a track that you always have to be worried about where you're at on it, because if you make that simple misstep and just go over the boundaries of the grip level, you're quickly into that outside wall, as the track is very, very narrow, and especially when it comes to the racing line.
And also due to the fact that the Darlington stripe, a well-known phrase given to drivers here at this track, you're expected to touch the wall at some point here tonight. The question is, how aggressive is it going to be? Well, just in the first 3 laps, 3 drivers getting too fancy with the outside wall, and for one, too fancy the inside wall as we look at the drivers that are trying to battle to make it inside of our top 10. Here's the 15 of Christopher Wade. Hasn't moved up or down, but in front of him is one driver that's moved up. That's up 3 position of that of Kyle Bowling in the 24.
He did that last week at 5 Flags. He really marched his way through. We'll see if that 24 can do something similar here tonight at Darlington. And he's got a good driver right there in front of him. Also, Kyle McCoy, who's historically been the best pretty much when it comes to this Darlington Raceway. And right now he's looking to the inside of the 5 machine here of Andrew Hess off of 4. But that's just going to be a tough pass to make here. It's going to look like the 28's just going to have to slot back into line here before we head down the 1, where right here you want to really make sure you have your clear lanes as you go up and down the racetrack through the corner.
Roller coaster that you're hoping you're in mostly control. There's Aaron Hill. Quick repair, of required. Now he's back out on track. 3 laps down is the 40 machine. It's Kyle McCoy setting up for another pass opportunity here at turn number 4. Not able to get the clearance that he wants. He'll settle back in line, but hoping to set up another opportunity back at turn 3 again.
He's going to have to set it up a few times possibly to get it done. I mean, we talked about it already about how tough it is to pass here, and that's what you're going to see a lot of times tonight. Driver get to the inside of somebody, try to make it work, and then they got to back out of it before they get to turn 1, just due to the way that corner is. You don't want to be side by side, especially this early into a 147 lap event. You got plenty of time to make up space, but you're going to have to do it very methodically.
Well, like we said, this race has been ran 4 times in the past, and the last time that they ran it was back in Season 4 when they were running that of the Gen 6 Cup car. 7 cautions in that race. Back in Season 3, they had that of 3 cautions when they were running the Xfinity car, but the least amount of cautions were back in Season 1 and Season 2 when they were running the ARC car in Season 1, and in Season 2, it was that of the trucks that they were running. And in Season 1, only 1 caution. Season 2, 0 cautions. And these drivers are settling in for what potentially could be a long one for these drivers, as we see here the 6th machine of Will Bustler and Trey Jackson in that of the 25 behind him in 12th.
The 25 has been making some moves through. He's up from the 14th starting position all the way up to 12th already. And he's closing in here on Will Bustler with some quicker times being turned in that 25 camp. So we'll see what he can do. And you can see right here, drivers are electing to enter a little bit lower, stay a little bit lower through the corner. And I will say this is one thing that plays a factor, especially lately here at Darlington. The past few builds we've got here on iRacing has updated the grip levels on this racetrack. And that bottom line in 3 and 4 can tend to work. But you can see right here through 1 and 2, I mean, Trey Jackson with a ton of speed there, but it's just not going to be able to make that stick, as he made the right decision to back out of that, because going too wide off of 2, it gets to be a little bit sketchy.
I mean, we saw there, Zach, the aggression in the first half of that corner. Entry looked great, got to the apex, and the 25 just backed out of it. Was that more of a scare factor, or was there something else going on there?
It could have been a little bit of the balance shifting off the nose, pushing that car up the racetrack and causing it not to turn like he wanted to. So he probably knew going to the inside of the 6 there, it was not going to be a move that stuck and possibly even open the door up for the 22 behind him. But he's got a good run off of 2 this time, as he didn't have to elect to go side by side. He was able to carry that speed instead of having to lift. And he got close, but the 6 doing a good job of just being solid right now, while Jackson is going to have to figure out a solution to get around Bustler.
Jackson might be trying different opportunities, different lanes to find some extra speed, but the 6 holds steady, and the 22 you see there in the cat machine, that is going to be Brian Lynch. And Brian has his first true mistake, almost brushing that outside wall, but he was closing in on that battle. But that exit of these corners, always a treacherous spot for everyone to deal with, as the 22 is about to lose touch. But behind him, Zach Kreitz, he is on a full recovery run after his early mistakes for the 9.
Kreitz running times comparable to the top 6 right now with the last few laps. And he's making a charge, like you said, Sam, up to him. And also Jonathan Woods behind him. He's turning times as fast as some of the guys in the top 4. So it's showing that just because you're this far back doesn't mean you don't have the speed. You just got to work your way up and gain that track position, which Kreitz unfortunately lost after starting from that 6th position with that early collision to that outside wall.
I think he might have rushed it once again on entry there. That 9 is certainly trying to give it all that it can here in the early goings of this race. We're only 14 laps in of an 147. Update on one of the drivers that had required damage, Aaron Hale. He is back at a pit road. He's been in pit road for quite a while. I don't know when he's going to get back out on track. Currently 9 laps down. 4th place runner Nate Lynch, you see on screen, the 1 was able to get by Andrew Medlin, who Medlin just gave up the position very easily, did not want to fight at all with the 1 machine, and Nate Lynch trying to find a way to close in on the gap to our leaders, but our top 3 in a completely different zip code from the rest of the field.
They have lifted off and took away, man, because it's 3 seconds back to Nate Lynch here from this group, as it's got Ross Tatum in that 3rd position, 31 of Thomas Ogle there, our pole setter, hanging on the 2nd, and they both are starting to run a little bit quicker than Scott Rickard. It's been pretty much similar lap times throughout the top 3 here, but Ross Tatum has not allowed Thomas Ogle to save too much. He's been right here about 2/10 off of him, making sure Ogle keeps up that pace he has.
Yeah, trying to put the pressure on Ogle to keep on going, and that gap was up to almost 1.2 seconds, now cut in half. And as these 3 drivers are in their own area, they're trying to make this run go on. The driver that's on the move inside of our top 10, Kyle McCoy, he is being very quick as well. I've been looking at the time, and Zach, this 28 is looking very quick in 6th place.
Kyle McCoy is flying right now. He really, really is. Made the pass on Jason Gratton, and I'm seeing a lot of what I'm seeing that's really cool here tonight. You know, we got the old school throwback paint schemes, first of all, throughout this season. But, you know, Darlington is a very old school style track. Some of the racing I'm seeing is very old school, too, where drivers are getting runs on each other, and they're just letting them go. They're saying, here, take it for now, and if I get back to you later, hopefully they repay that fact of getting to their inside and just letting me go by. So that's one thing I like to see here at Darlington, because, again, racing side by side here just slows both you down. If you feel like the driver that's behind you can go forward and possibly, you know, go up there and disrupt the drivers up ahead of you, then it could possibly help you for later in the run. So I've been seeing that a few times, and gotta applaud the guys for showing a lot of patience.
I think that's one thing of that driver etiquette, though, of, you know, you see a driver running up on you early, let him go. I'm used to seeing that a lot in sim racing. It's the later on of giving back that, you know, easy pass that you gave up earlier in the run. You don't really see that very often, but right now, seeing closing in is the 1 of Nate Lynch. He tried his opportunity. Andrew Medlin might want this pass back after he gave it away earlier.
Gave that position away for sure, and Medlin for sure putting the pressure on now as he tries very close to the back bumper of the 1 machine. And with this racing here, all it's going to do is bring in drivers such as Kyle Bowling in the 24 or the 15 to Christopher Wade closer. But you can see here, Medlin stuck behind the 1. Now the 28 with such a good run off of 4. He's going to look to inside of both of them, and he might get the 2-for-1 deal, as we're seeing our first time 2 wide through 1 and 2. And this is where it can get treacherous.
It very much can be. Jason Gratton going to be trying to follow suit as the 1 getting very loose out of the exit of turn 2. Holds onto it, doesn't take out the 8. And Nate Lynch is going backwards quickly, as he was actually over the radio when that pass was being made. Sorry to Andrew, because he knew he was holding up the 18. And when he saw Kyle McCoy making the 2-for-1 pass, says, ride on board with the 1 machine. Just get a sense of what it's like here, Zach, as the 1 is just trying to settle back in.
He's got to settle back in quickly here for sure, because Kyle Bowling is now in the 24 right behind him also. But you see, good run through there and off, but it's just not carried off the corner. It seems like just the line is not perfect there from Nate Lynch, and that might even be a balance issue where the car is just not doing what he wants it to do at the moment. As he enters very low, washes up the racetrack, and here in the next few moments, he's going to have a car looking to his inside. As you can see in his mirror, at 24 has gotten a lot bigger, and he's right on the back bumper as Lynch has now, possibly looking to lose 4 positions here in just 3 laps.
The roller coaster of Darlington going low at the center point of the apex. You move back high, close to the wall, and then you come back low lane on the exit as arriving, looking backwards on the 1. trying to see how to defend. But I think at this point, Zach, you're touched on the balance of these cars. I think the one's just running whatever lane the car's going to allow the one to run at this point, because we're 23 laps in.
Darlington is like that. It's a track that they call it the age-old saying is race the racetrack. Because if you worry about racing your competition and racing the racetrack, you're going to quickly make the mistake that puts you into the wall. And you can see how close they get to it off of 2 there. It really is that tough. And the drivers right now definitely having to focus on that. And I think that's the good thing that Nate Lynch has shown so far is even though he is struggling, he is not trying to put up too big of a fight on these other drivers, as now we're getting into some lap traffic up front here as Ogle's gotten past Kovacic.
That's going to be George Kovacic in the 66, Route 66 machine, who's just going to be pedaling his way, currently in 19th position. First car a lap down, so if a caution comes out, would get that lucky dog for George Kovacic. As the leaders are getting through lap traffic, this is a great way for drivers to open up the gap. And that's exactly what Scott Rickard has done. It was at 0.6 seconds last time I looked, now up to 0.2, and this 32 continues to just run his own lane, which is on the outside on the entry of the corner. Apex, he drops it down low, and gotta say, Scott Rickard just looks completely in control with this vehicle. The Pontiac looks good.
He looks so comfortable out there right now, and what's impressive with this the most is I had a little bit of concern watching him at the very, very beginning of the run. He's fighting a little bit of the rear end, stepping out there off of 4. I had a concern, though, with the lap times he was turning. He turned a lap time that was a 10th faster than anybody pretty much out there on the racetrack at the very, very beginning of this run. I mean, that is a little bit due to clean air, clean track, where he gets to control his fate there. But sometimes here at Darlington, even though you get released out there with that clean air, it's easy to go out there and burn the tires up and have big issues as the run goes on. But from watching lap times, he is very, very quick. The only driver out there that has been quicker than him pretty much on a lap-by-lap basis is the 28 of Kyle McCoy.
And Kyle McCoy currently going to be 3.6 seconds off of our leader. Last time by, McCoy was 0.2 faster than that top position. So this 28 is going to be a driver to watch out for. And if we get a caution, that's going to make things a lot more interesting, especially, Zach, on the fact that tires are unlimited here tonight. No, there was a little bit of complications trying to set up the session, or some slight mistakes, but unlimited tires really does change this race if we get into a caution fest like we did back in season 4.
It will change it a ton. I mean, when you have the tire sets that limit you, you're questioning when to use them because of how big an advantage, a set of tires is we're only 28 laps into the run, but we're already over a second slower than what our fastest lap was run. So it just shows you the fall off that is out there on those tires. But with there being unlimited sets, it's going to be a busy pit road if we get some yellow flags tonight.
I love that shot, watching the backstretch drivers coming out of turn 2. You saw the 18 completely lose the rear end, and that is something that's going to continue on as they're starting to see some drivers completely losing the rear ends, others slight adjustments off the exit of the corner, but it is going to be a handful as it grows more and more, and already another driver comes into pit road. That is Dylan Grimm, who's caught up with Aaron Hill incident into pit road for the 17, and Andrew Medlin, he'd been playing and flirting with that wall, and it finally grabbed the 18.
Big collision there off of turn number 2 for him, and good bit of damage on the right front fender, so he's lucky he didn't have the same case where Aaron Hill, who got put in the wall earlier, where it broke the suspension. Luckily, it stays together for him, but that damage on that right front fender is only going to compound the issues of his handling, and you might see this 18 really starting to struggle here in the next few moments as he's got a few drivers really closing in on him. That's the 5 of Andrew Hess and the 24 of Kyle Bolin.
I mean, I think you count the drivers we just saw there on screen wiggling. I mean, you saw the 18 for sure, the 24 probably the biggest wiggle there, and as well, you got to see that Christopher Wade, Nate Lynch, all having slight slides out of the corner, and I think it's the funnest part, but the more terrifying part is who is going to survive through these corners. But Andrew Hess closing in, and we know this 5 machine, Zach, all season long we've been harping on it. One of the best drivers when it comes to saving tires. The 5 and the 24 are on the move, trying to close in on the 18, as well trying to close in on that of the 8 of Jason Brett.
It's really starting to stack up here from 5th on back, and we'll see how fast can this 5 make the pass on this 18 of Medlin. As he's, like you brought up, Sam, the rear ends are starting to step out a good bit for everybody, especially off of 4 and especially off of 2. Those exits in the corners, these cars are yawling out and stepping out on them. But right here going with this traffic up ahead of him with George Kovacic, it's going to be clear to get through here as Medlin's so tight off of 2. That allows the 5 and Andrew Hesser to look to the inside, and now down into 3. I think this 5 is going to have a nice time here trying to get this done. The 18 packs it in there real deep to try to hold on to it, but look, pushes tight, and the 5 just with the patient approach makes the pass.
And because they were side by side through the corner, not allowing the 18 a good run off the exit, it allows Kyle Bowling now to be into the picture to try to make the pass for 7th. And the 24 already going to be clean, moves up, gives the dirty air to the 18. And Kyle Bowling now going to be up to 7th place as Medlin continues to drop down. But movement up front, here comes Kyle McCoy making the pass for 3rd place. Ross Tatum down to 4th. 28 is closing in. He's now less than 3 seconds off our leader. It's slow, small adjustments. Still a lot of racing. And this 28 machine looks to be poised to try to close in on our leaders. And we got to go up to our leaders because Thomas Ogle might be the first driver to strike on Scott Rickard right now.
He really might be, Sam. I was watching the lap times, and Scott Rickard just started to hit a cliff. His tires have really started to fall off. And this 31, he's done what he's continuously done throughout the season. He just keeps putting in the good lap times and nice solid ones. It's never mind-blowing speed. It's always just solid consistency when it comes to lap times from Ogle. And right now, putting the pressure on Scott Rickard here. And this is tough. He's in that dirty wake of the 32. But with that 32 struggling as much as he is, it's putting the pressure on Scott Rickard to drive a little bit harder, which could lead to that simple mistake of getting into the wall, and that'll be a nice, easy pass. But as they go by Mike Lynch, you can see just how much better the drive is through the 31, through that center of the corner. But luckily for Rickard, he'll have the run off the top.
I mean, just based off of that center speed, it looks like for Scott Rickard, not able to get into the throttle as soon as he wants. Now, the advantage there goes to Scott Rickard just because of the lap traffic holding up Thomas Ogle, but Ogle needs to make this pass quickly. The longer he sits behind that of Scott Rickard, the closer Kyle McCoy is going to close in. McCoy has been slightly faster than Ogle even before he caught up to the 32. So this is a race between time for this Thomas Ogle if he wants to make the pass before Kyle McCoy catches up to them.
It's going to be critical, and we just had a critical moment also. Kyle McCoy, he made a mistake. He got into the outside wall in 3 and 4, and luckily for his case, and actually I would say he got into the wall. He didn't. He got so close to the wall, I think he had to back the corner up much farther than he wanted, so it really checked him up there and lost some time. But luckily for his case, he didn't get into that wall. No damage, no harm, no foul done. But I will say the car that has been lighting up the ticker the last few laps, it's once again Andrew Hess in the 5 machine just closing in and showing unreal long runs pace.
Yeah, he's right now 4/10 faster than our leader, and he's catching up to Jason Gradden, and Gradden's not even sleeping. The 8 machine is the 2nd fastest car on track, but the fact is, he's about 2/10 slower the previous lap to the one before that. Both drivers equal, and it just seems like you can be faster than the driver ahead of you, Zach, but it is so difficult to make these passes. The dirty air looks to be too strong.
It is very, very tough. I mean, because you want the line that the person is running ahead of you. You know, if this track had a little bit more multi-groove action, in my opinion, 3 and 4 gives you that multi-groove action where you can elect to run lower than the driver up ahead of you to get the air on the nose. But it is still tough to make it happen. It is just one of those factors here at Darlington that when you get a pass done, you feel like you accomplished something, because it is, you got to really just work the person over. You continually put the pressure on them and push them into a mistake, because just off of raw speed, it usually doesn't make passes happen. But you can see Hess already to the inside of the 8 here, but the 8's going to do a good job. He's going to cover off the inside and say, here, take some of that turbulent air.
Taking the turbulent air and into pit road, Ross Tatum, the first of our top 5 contenders, into pit road on lap 40. Zach, I don't know if this is a scheduled time for him to come into pit road, but he is done so. Jonathan Woods following as well. Interesting call on lap 40.
Very interesting for sure, Sam. I'm kind of perplexed by this, because I would think you'd want to go at least closer to lap 50. I feel like that would be in the range of making this race, you know, a 2-stop race all the way to the end of this thing. This could still be a possible 2-stop for these drivers, but it's very much a undercut that could play detrimental effects on them as this race goes on. And Andrew Hess, after he's gotten past Jason Gratton, he's starting to fly away from him, and he's going to have to run up to Kyle McCoy, because these guys are 2.9 seconds back from the leaders now, which is crazy to say because the leaders had such a gap. And as this is going down with the Hess going through here, Kyle McCoy, he's brought himself into the picture for the battle up front. It's 6/10 separating our top three now.
That's because last lap, Scott Rickard, as well as Thomas Ogle, a full second slower than Kyle McCoy. Scott Rickard is killing the time for Thomas Ogle. He is just not able to get away. And Zach, this was that nightmare the 31 was hoping wouldn't happen, where he was stuck behind Rickard for so long. That gap that he had over Kyle McCoy is gone. He's got to force the pass now. Here comes the 31 down into turn number 3, hoping for this to be the opportunity, because if he doesn't make the pass now, Kyle McCoy might force the 3 wide.
You can see that bottom has actually got some power there. Great job from Thomas Ogle, and he did it just in a nick of time, like you said there, Sam, because this 28, I don't think he's going to have any problem passing this 32 machine, because right now Rickard is just a half a second or more off the pace compared to this group around him. And right now, struggling as you see McCoy almost getting to the inside already, and he's going to be looking for it here down into 3.
Down into turn number 3, throws it down the inside groove, side by side by the 32, just gunning it a little bit more aggressive, and off the exit, Rickard close to the outside wall, forcing it still side by side, and for Thomas Ogle, exactly what he wants to see. Gotta see Rickard hold off the 28 of Kyle McCoy, because if McCoy gets that clean air, he is one of the fastest drivers on track. And Zach, yeah, we're hinting on Andrew Hess. Hess is closing in now as Rickard gets to the outside wall, losing that position.
It's just gone from bad to worse for Scott Rickard, now back to 3rd. And like you said, Sam, 31:45 last time by from Andrew Hess. That's comparable to Thomas Ogle at 31:79. This is immense speed being shown by the 5 machines. He's already within 2 seconds of our leaders. And man, this is shaping up to be a race that shows you cannot go out there and use your equipment up. And Darlington proving to be that style of racetrack once again.
As the driver extended time into pit road, that Jonathan Woods not able to get a clean stop that he wanted. Kyle McCoy, a little bit of a bad exit there as he's trying to close in on Thomas Ogle, and just showing one pass really can shake up these tires. Zach, 45 laps into this race, and we are continuing to stay green. We have not had a yellow yet, but we've had plenty of different scares throughout the early portion. As here comes Andrew Hess, the fastest driver on track, is the 5, and that was the cleanest pass we've seen on Scott Rickard in the last 10 laps. And that's exactly what the 5 needed, but not for the 31 or the 28.
That was a frictionless pass right there. No resistance there at all. The 32 tried what he could, but the 5 is just too quick at the moment to be held back, and he's going to have a chance here. I mean, he's 2.2 seconds back from these leaders, but as this run continues to click away, we'll see, can he close in before we come to pit road? That's going to be the critical moment. When we come to pit road, the gap between them will be very decisive of how this race plays out, because man, Ogle, ever since he's got released from behind Scott Rickard, his pace has been strong, along with Kyle McCoy. So right now, we got a 3-horse battle if this race stays green.
Into pit road, going to be the 1 machine of Nate Lynch. But Zach, something we haven't touched on, the difficulty of pit road. We've had that of 4 drivers already come in, but when you have to come into pit road, there's more drivers thinking about the opportunity to come in. They have got to make sure they're perfect as they enter.
It is probably the toughest pit road to enter. It's just so far down the racetrack. I mean, you see the racing group in the bank part of the racetrack. It's 3 lanes necessarily with those seams going through it. But then you have about another 5 lanes down below the banking that heads down to that pit road. And you have to be so precise because that pit road entry is very, very narrow, just like the racing surface. It is just really one of the most awkward entries also just of where it's placed. So mistakes are waiting around every single time when you come to pit road here. We'll see who does it the best, because we have had those drivers already elect to come down, and they're going to have a huge gap when everything gets settled back out due to the lap times you determine new tires from the difference of old tires we have. But it's going to be wild to see who just comes out in the right position. As I think Scott Rickard there, you see it in the 32, he's coming down the pit road. His tires are cooked.
They are very much gone. Also joining him is going to be the 22 of Ryan Lynch. Other drivers have come into pit road the lap prior to this. Kyle Bowling and that of Will Bustler and Nate Lynch getting their stops done. 32 is over the radio and gave that notification. That's going to be a key, I think, for some of these drivers that are closing in on one another, is making sure that they're giving clear indications they're coming to pit road. And our leader, Thomas Ogle, now looks to be showing the signs, and the 31 is heading into pit road now.
He's going to have the 5 and Andrew Hess follow him in also. So we're going to have 2 contenders along Jason Gratton also in the 8 machine. So multiple drivers coming down. Kyle McCoy electing to extend this run here. And I'm not surprised with this. Ooh, Valle there. Close section between him and Trey Jackson coming to pit road. It just shows you how narrow it is. And they're going to race side by side into it.
And for Diego Valle, he has to get by because his pit stops earlier than the 25. He's going to have to whoa up, and he will. Luckily, no contact between the two. That's one of those moments in pit road. You can phase through a little bit overshooting to 77, but you only phase through once you get into your pit box. On the racing pits lane, you can make contact, so drivers have to be careful with one another. No contact, fair game, and here's the 10 machine still out on track. It's Joshua Robinson.
Robinson hasn't had the greatest race so far. Started in 20th after that lackluster qualifying there after getting into the wall. And after last week's win, this is going to be a little bit of a probable letdown for him. But at the same time, his pace, I was watching it. He was 12 seconds behind the leader before Ogle hit pit road. It was actually pretty good pace. I mean, 31.78s. It's not as bad as some of the other drivers we've seen with their fall off. So his pace is there for the longer runs. It's just he's going to have better track position and be farther up if he wants to be able to use it. So we'll see him elect to take it a little bit farther, and this will put him in an interesting scenario here if he takes it a little farther and has that advantage to just make easy passes.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to watch how much further he wants to go, but I think he came over the radio thinking about pitting this time as the 10, so he's going to defend to the inner groove. And watching and riding on board the 10 machine, here we go into pit road, the blind corner into pit road, and the 10 hits his marks. Going to be entering pit road. Pace speed for these drivers, 45 miles per hour. And taking the lead position is going to be the 21 Ross Tatum, who pitted 10 laps earlier than Scott Rickard, and currently with a little bit under 11-second gap over the 32.
It just shows you how much you gained by coming in earlier, making that undercut work. We'll see how long does it take drivers to get up to him, because right now Scott Rickard should have much faster tires. But I will say, Ross Tatum, for how long he's into this run, 14 laps, 30.48 is not a bad time. And really, Scott Rickard's only gaining about 0.2 per lap on him right now. So he's done an excellent job so far. We'll have to see, can he keep this pace up is going to be the big question.
And for drivers that were battling out of pit road, Kyle McCoy coming in a lap later than Thomas Ogle, and he is now past the 31 machine. Pitting 1 lap earlier did not work out for the 31 machine, as Kyle McCoy looks to be the biggest threat, as well as Andrew Hess. Hess pitting that 1 lap earlier was able to get by the 28 of Kyle McCoy. Zach, it's looking like this could turn into an Andrew Hess and Kyle McCoy battle if they can find out how to get by Scott Rickard as soon as possible, because Ross Tatum's odd strategy, we know he's going to get caught. The question is, at what point will it happen?
It will have to be at some time for sure. It's going to happen, in my opinion. But the one thing that Ogle had go wrong for him off the exit of pit road was very squirrely. That let Andrew Hess cleanly get by him, and Kyle McCoy with that 1 lap extra able to get by him also. That's going to be a huge advantage for that 28, who also had to make the charge up through. That's the one thing we got to account for is Andrew Hess and McCoy. They were 8th and 9th on the grid here tonight, and now battling for position here for 3rd and 4th. These are going to be 2 of the drivers that definitely watch out for because of how far they came from that back. But right now, they're battling it up.
As Kyle McCoy going to make the pass over Andrew Hess. Hess deciding to protect his tires, not just wheeling and dealing immediately, as the opposite for the 31 and the 28 is there, as they're trying to figure out how to catch up to Scott Rickard, as Rickard was able to pit 2 laps sooner than Kyle McCoy and just 1 lap sooner than that of Thomas Ogle. Being 9 seconds off of that of Ross Tatum, the race is on to catch up to the 21, and as that race is happening, we are going to step aside for a quick moment. You've been watching the Stars and Stripes throwback season. This is race number 13, as the drivers have had a good one so far, as you're watching that of Stars and Stripes Southern 200 on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're going to go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be right back.
The best, you got them for a rest. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
He's following, they're wrecking, they're splitting, and it's a complete mayhem.
We have a wreck at the front. 19 goes down into the 7, takes out the double zero.
They're 5 wide behind for fifth. Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work, is it? They're already wrecking into turn 1, and now coming through out of turn 2. This is it, the Daytona. Oh no, the wrecking contact. Sets gets into the wall. Gonna be scattering on the outside. Drivers on the apron. Drivers coming out of nowhere. Edison on the outside trying to get the win. And it's William Edison stealing it at the line.
Into the wall. The 18 trying to block. 77 getting to the 18. That leaves 3 of TJ Roberts. 17 to Gavin Rogers. 3 of TJ Roberts is gonna steal the win here.
What second fiddle so many times last season. Christopher Wade wins the season 5 Daytona 200.
I think I watched Josh 3 or 4 times before I ran the car. He killed them every race, and it was like stout fields, like good cars, big races, and I mean, he was unbeatable. And I was like, oh man, this is, like, I'm nervous. I was so nervous getting into the car full time this year after watching Josh win 3 or 4 races straight. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower now. They have over 500, and I think 5 years ago they didn't have 450. They're gonna be a handful to drive, but just don't overdrive them. Let the car do the work.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stars and Stripes throwback season for race number 13 here at the Stars and Stripes Southern 200 at Darlington. Currently, Ross Tatum is leading the way, but the gap has shrunk. Last time we touched on it, right before we went to commercial break, it was about 9 seconds. It's now less than 3, and it's well under commercial break. There was a wreck that happened between Diego Valle and George Kovacic. Did not bring out a yellow, but both drivers in pit road. Kovacic's called it a night. Valle is seeing how much repairs he can get done, so he at least can get some positions. But Zach, it has been an interesting race to look on strategy-wise, as Scott Rickard in second place has been caught by Kyle McCoy.
Yeah, Kyle McCoy is here. He is ready to take over second position, and I think he's also focused, saying, once I get about Scott Rickard, we're going to be at Ross Tatum, because right now it's only 2.3 seconds separating the top two. Then you'll have about another 2 seconds back to Kyle McCoy. who is closing in 2/10 back to Kyle McCoy from Scott Rickard, who's closing in so quickly. This is going to be a interesting battle here to see who can get around Ross Tatum first. I think it's going to be an easy pass for this 28 who pitted the last of the guys in the top 5.
But the one driver I think overall that we've got to keep under a microscope has to be the 5 of Andrew Hess. He gave up his positions very easily, settling in 5th place. He is catching up just in a slower pattern than what we're seeing from Scott Rickard, Kyle McCoy, and Thomas Ogle. But this 5, as well as the 8 of Jason Gradden, working kind of together. They came into pit road on the same lap. And Zach, the strategy they're going for, this could be a winning one based on how the long runs have been going so far.
Based on how the long runs have been, he has been the best. And I think it's due to his method of just going that much slower. I mean, he dropped that back about 2.5 seconds off these guys, and now the pace has been pretty similar the last few laps for the 5. So it's starting to even out between that group. And you got to think, we're going to be going to about lap 100 of this event before we hit our last pit stop. So he's got 30 green flag laps pretty much to go up there and run these guys down. This 5 is going to be one to watch out for sure once we get up to that group.
Oh boy, it's getting frisky for 2nd place. Scott Rickard, Kyle McCoy, side by side. They're able to get by Jonathan Woods. A slight contact in the middle of that of 1 and 2. But these drivers have been at it, and now it is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all within a second of one another, and it's on. Who's going to take the lead? Scott Rickard bounces to the inside. Kyle McCoy to the inside. We're stacked 3 wide for a quick moment. McCoy backs out. Rickard takes the lead. Ross Tatum is sitting duck, and he'll just watch those 3 drivers go on by, and now it's Scott Rickard for the lead position. Kyle McCoy wanting it bad, and Thomas Ogle just waiting and lurking to see what mistakes are made.
Not too many times do you get to say 3 wide for the lead at Darlington, and that's what it was there for a moment. Is Scott Rickard took no prisoners. He just said, you know what, I'm driving in here, I'm taking the bottom, Kyle, so you better back out of it. And he did, luckily, as he followed Rickard through. But at any moment now, when Kyle McCoy can get this pass done, that's going to be critical, because Ogle's still right here in this 31 right behind this group. If Kyle McCoy has a tough time getting around Rickard here, this is going to hurt his tires and hurt his chances of holding Ogle and then ultimately Andrew Hess back later.
And our top 3 all came into pit road at different times. It was a 3-lap window that they all came into pit road. Scott Rickard was the first, then it was Thomas Ogle, and then the last driver coming to pit road was Kyle McCoy, who dives it down low, going to be trying to make this pass, trying to get by that of the 2 machine of Mike Lynch. And into pit road was Ross Tatum, who's coming into pit road as the pass for the lead was made.
Very interesting strategy from Ross Tatum. Maybe electing to go with a 3-stop strategy. That is the only thing I can have in my mind here, because he's not going to make it to the end of this race on fuel. He's going to have to stop another time. So this is going to shake things up. He must think that new tires are worth that much, where if you run hard and go as fast as you possibly can, it will have a big enough gap. And this time he's going to have even more laps to have a difference on tires here once we get back going.
Let's see, call for that of the 21 machine, but a very scary moment there as our leaders were getting by the 2. All 3 of them have been able to do so, and a little bit of scares here or there. Looking at the times, though, for our leaders, it's going to be that of Kyle McCoy, Scott Rickard, Thomas Ogle, all running either a 31.3 or a 31.4. The driver in 4th, who we knew was going to be the fastest in the long run, that of Andrew Hess, was 2/10, almost 3/10 faster than our top 3. That 5 about to be calling it the go button for himself.
It's almost that time for sure for him. It's 2.5 seconds back from Kyle McCoy is this 5 machine. And I've been watching the Delta bar. It's been dropping down. It's just been getting smaller and smaller as this 5 machine continues to run at a rapid pace. I think he's going to have no problems catching Scott Rickard, no problems catching Thomas Ogle. The driver he's going to have to worry about the most is going to have to be that number 28 machine, who's had impressive paces after he pitted a lap later than the 5 also. So we'll see how it works out, but the 5 did a great job there getting past the 2. Now he's got free reign right up to that 32 of Scott Rickard. How long will it take him to catch Ogle and Rickard as you can see them exiting off the 2 up there?
McCoy, this has been his track. They've only ran here 4 times in the past for the Stars and Stripes series. Back in season 1, 2, 3, and season 4. Kyle McCoy has won 2 of the 4. He's gotten the pole for 3 out of the 4, and he has led the most laps for 2 out of the 4. The 28, the favor to watch out for, and Andrew Hess wanting to break that streak and just be like that to McNally as well as Travis Butt that have won here and beaten out the 28 machine. And he's got a mountain to climb. Over 2.5 seconds is the gap. Thomas Ogle is now in front of Scott Rickard, but the 31 and the 28, they could be this cause of a caution here, Zach. They do not look comfortable in second and third position.
They definitely do not look comfortable right now. The lap times, too, haven't been the greatest. 31.78, 31.91. Those are on the slower side of the realm, especially with drivers like Kyle McCoy and Andrew Hess, who are both in the 31.30s bracket. It's just a lot of speed being shown from our first and fourth place car. And right now, if you're Ogle, you got to get back into a rhythm after you've gotten past Rickard here, and you can't burn your stuff up trying to go up there and catch Kyle McCoy. You got to race your race, as they would say here at Darlington, and try to hold on to what you can, because you need to get to that last pit stop in somewhat of a close distance to the 5 and the 28.
And as we've been hyping up where drivers are going to be, Kyle McCoy as well as Andrew Hess running very similar lap times the last go around. As see the 32 with Scott Rickard getting a little out of shape. But man, our top 4 certainly drivers to watch out for. Jason Grattan in 5th place in the 8 machine. What a run he's having here tonight. And looking like a top 5 for the 8, and he's hoping for that to continue forward. And looking at the track, again, a very odd scenario for Ross Tatum, who was leading at one moment during this race, deciding to go with a 3-stop strategy. Zach, he's in 13th position, first car lap down, so if we get a caution, at least you would get the lucky dog spot. But so many different strategies. Felt like the 2-stop was going to be the one to watch out for, but this 3-stop by Ross Tatum, certainly a gutsy one that he's trying out.
It is a gutsy call for sure, Sam. And I mean, fastest lap time we've seen all night was at 29.97. I've seen lap times as slow as a 32-second from some of these guys who fall off farther into that bracket. But our top guys are only falling off, in my opinion, about a second and a half to a second and 3/4 off their best time. I don't know if that 3-stop is going to be that valuable of an asset. We'll just have to see. I mean, he did, when we came back out, had about a 10 to 12 second lead over Scott Rickard at one point. As you see in the 5 now, get himself in the 3rd. So it's going to be a sizable gap for Tatum when these drivers all do trickle down the pit road on lap 100. But that gap's just going to be completely gone anyways after he has to come back down the pit road himself and you know, make his final stop and then have to make up all that time. I just think that's an insurmountable mark. He may still be able to get a decent finish out of this, you know, somewhere maybe in the realm of a top 6, but I just don't see him being anywhere close to these leaders.
Yeah, and these leaders, you see them trying to get by lap traffic. That's going to be Dylan Grimm, who had an unfortunate wreck early in this race with that of Aaron Hale. And we've seen the 5 and the 32 getting by the 17 machine, but Hess has been able to get by. He's now up to 3rd, so the march trying to get up the lead still on. Here's Jason Grattan in 5th place, the 8 machine, taking it easy where he's at this current moment, and was trying to run very similar lap times to the 5. I think he might have realized that Andrew Hess is kind of an alien right now on how he's saving the tires. 8 was doing a very similar strategy, but made a couple of bad, aggressive laps. These tires have almost completely gone on that of Jason Grattan, but in 5th place, not very many drivers around him. He's in a very secure spot at this current time.
Very secure, and he's gained a little bit of time on Scott Rickard. I mean, he's about 1.3 back from Rickard, who has a little bit more of an aggressive pit, you know, strategy than him. So we could see this 32 and 8 by the end of this race, if it stays green, battling it out for that 4th position, because I think our top 3, they've pretty much got it all figured out so far. Their pace on the long runs have been somewhat untouchable, and that's what's going to help them pull or get that gap to this rest of this field.
Well, we've been talking on different battles, but there's a couple of them out on track. There is the closest one is the battle for 6th place between that of Andrew Medlin, then another one up front for 2nd place between Thomas Ogle and Andrew Hess. But these 2 drivers, Andrew Medlin, get that of Kyle Bowling. Honestly, the way we were seeing him in those first 20 laps of this race, I thought he was going to be one of the drivers to watch out for a top 5 finish. Right now, battling with Andrew Medlin, who we saw have early struggles in those first 20 laps.
Andrew Medlin definitely had those struggles, but right now he's been able to somewhat solidify those struggles. And hold on to what he's had is we got the Andrew Medlin driver cam up here, as you get to see how he's going to take it around this Darlington Raceway. Is you got to have, I mean, I always talk about this when we see Andrew Medlin about his intense focus. I think you got to turn that focus up about 1,000% here at Darlington more than any track, because it's just all about making those fine, simple adjustments to keep your car right in the groove. And right now, everybody doing a good job of it, but he's definitely got the pressure on with that 24 right behind him.
That he certainly does as well, repping the brand of Freaky Fast Broadcasting with his t-shirt. As well, it's always a joy to see someone wearing our t-shirt from Freaky Fast Broadcasting. A very comfy t-shirt, great quality, great security. And as well, if you'd like to get your own t-shirt, go on, head over to Storefront Tier on Freaky Fast Broadcasting and get your shirt today. As gotta say, Zach, probably one of the better shirts that you can get if you're trying to buy online from any of the merch stores.
That's for sure, Sam. Definitely can not only join the Freaky Fast family, but get yourself some nice clothing there to really, help cover yourself out there in public, because people will be asking you, what's Freaky Fast Broadcasting? And you get to tell them about this great broadcasting group that we got here and the great races that we get to put on. So it's always great to see people repping that merch, and thank you to Andrew Medlin there for that. As we check out Christopher Wade in this 15 machine, kind of all in his lonesome here. He's about 2.3 seconds back from Kyle Bowling and Andrew Medlin, and then about another 6 seconds ahead of the next driver.
Yeah, and that next driver going to be the 10 machine of Joshua Robinson, who's just kind of having his own fun in that 10 machine, qualified back in 20th position. And we were watching him when he was going through those times, brushed the wall in that last lap, so it did not count. Has been working his way forward, but a top 10 finish for last week's winner from Five Flag Speedway. And Joshua Robinson, with the way that this season started, it is still incredible to see how much this 10 has grown and learned this ARCA car, and it's just gotten better each and every week.
It has been that really cool to see the progress, because it's been a struggle for a lot of the times, and I feel like for him, it's either been he's been very fast in a race, or he's just been mired back in a race. I mean, we've even seen times where he qualifies on pole and just doesn't have the race paces. Man, he just got a heavy lick there off of turn 2 getting into the outside wall, and that's going to stop a lot of the progress he was making on the freshest tires out there on the track. And look, just into 3 and 4, hits that wall once again. He's got to be careful. You don't want to damage that suspension like we see with Aaron Hill and have that required damage that have to come down the pit road.
I mean, he might not have required damage, but those 2 hits were so violent. And there might be just something broke. May not be forcing him into pit road, but these 2 drivers going to be trying to close in. And that's Trey Jackson in the 25 machine. In the 1 Pennzoil, that is Nate Lynch. And here comes Will Bustler, who came into pit road 13 laps ago. Fresh rubber. And that of the 6 machine is on the go.
He is really on the go right now, running 30-70s to a lot of these guys, 31-70s. And when you're a second a lap faster, you're able to go around people very, very easily, as he makes that pass there on Trey Jackson, who is in his own battle there with Nate Lynch. And that's tough when you got people coming by on new tires and you're also trying to make sure you hit your marks so the guy behind you doesn't take advantage of it. It can be very, very tricky. And they're even closing in very quickly on Joshua Robinson, because that damage is going to hurt that 10. This 25 and this 1, they might have their eyes wide open, because this 10 machine is going to be getting much bigger in their windshields.
Jackson already in the top 10, might go for a 6th place, that of a 9th place position for himself, and that would be a great gain for that of the 25 machine, as well for that of Nate Lynch, who's been having a very up and down type of a season for the 1, but good enough right now. He's in 8th place in points, trying to make it into the playoffs for these drivers, which playoffs just a few weeks away. We've got 2 more races left in the regular season, with that in North Wilkesboro, then Talladega, before the top 12 drivers get to battle it out for a championship. And Zach, the playoffs and a lot of different series that we cover, either closing in quickly or like Monday, about to start up next week.
It's that time, man. It's just, those opening spring seasons, they're all within almost pretty much the completion of the regular seasons, and their playoffs are right around the corner. So I think it's the best time. I know I love playoff racing, because it just ramps up the action that much more, makes everything kind of under a microscope that much more also, where everything is just so important to how you go out there and execute week in and week out. So Favorite time of these seasons for myself up here in the booth, and I'm sure these drivers are ready to get down to it, but they got 3 more races to close it out. And this driver, oh, we got some more pit road action here as one of the drivers come down. I think that's Thomas Ogle there. So 31 electing to do a little bit of a more aggressive stop here and stop on lap 98.
As that is going to be a couple of laps sooner than what we were expecting. 100 to 105 was the window a lot of us were thinking for pit stops, and 31 going to be the first of our top 4 to come into pit road. But who will be the next driver to enter pit road of our top contenders? Also joining that Thomas Ogle going to be Joshua Robinson. But Kyle McCoy still staying out with a 2-second lead over Andrew Hess. I think the big thing for Kyle McCoy, he might be just waiting on the 5. Whenever he comes into pit road, that's when I'm entering.
I think that's definitely what's going to play out because he's got that advantage of being up front. He stayed out a lap later. Oh, nope. He doesn't wait too long. He allows himself to come down here. And this is right on schedule, in my opinion, of when you wanted to come down. But I like what Andrew Hess is doing here. He's been quicker on the longer run, so he's going to stay out here a little bit longer, try to extend and put in some good laps here, and then he'll have some advantage on those newer tires to be able to try to push a little bit harder because I think he just gives up a little too much time doing the saving he's been doing.
He's been doing his best to try to save that ground. And as for that of Andrew Hess, now into pit road, waits that lap later. I'm keeping my eye out on that of the 18 as the 5 locking it up just slightly. I think that was a little bit of a quicker entry than he was expecting to have, but able to make it into pit road. Hitting that pace speed again, 45 miles per hour, but it's the fact that you're turning and it's a blind corner. And staying out for another lap, going to be Andrew Medlin and Kyle Bulling battling with one another, as they will be currently just our placeholders for that of first and second.
That they are, Sam. It's the placeholders for now, but the battling has been excellent between these two. And what has been surprising is Medlin had much fresher tires than Bulling, but Bulling ran him down and kind of kept with him there on that longer run. So Medlin's going to elect to come down a little bit earlier this time, and Kyle Bulling's going to do the opposite. He's going to stretch it out. So it's interesting to see what drivers do between run to run. Some of the drivers will do that massive undercut on the first run, then try to stretch it under that next run, and then some drivers do the exact opposite. So right now, we're seeing the tale of 2 different tapes, and I got to commend Andrew Medlin for what he's doing because that damage on the right front is still pretty significant to hang on to a top 6 position.
He's doing a very good job at holding that position. Still out on track, going to be Kyle Bulling, as well as Ross Tatum, who pitted 27 laps ago, make it 28. And the 21 has been incredible as Kyle Bulling now enters pit road. But Ross Tatum right now might be thinking about pit road here very shortly, as again, the 21 went with the extreme undercut with a 3-stop strategy in mind. And Zach, this is looking like a strategy that could potentially give the 21 a top 10 finish, and that would be a net loss compared to his original 2-top strategy that he was able to do before.
It's definitely going to be a net loss for sure. I like that he went and tried something. He felt like he was struggling possibly on those longer runs. He felt like just staying out longer was going to be a concern, but you know, he was right on the cusp of making the 2-stop work. I mean, he pitted on lap 40 that first time around, and then he went even earlier on the next time. So looked like he kind of committed to the 3-stop from there. And I wouldn't, like you said, I think he might be getting on pit road here very quickly. I mean, it's only about 12 seconds back to Kyle McCoy. So it just shows he's going to have to make up a ton of time on fresher tires. And right now, with the time he's losing, he can't wait too long to go in, but he needs to build enough advantage to where he can gain. So I think you might see him get very, very busy around lap 110 to come to pit road here. So within the next 5 laps.
Well, everyone else has made their pit stop and should be good to take it to the end. So we're going to take our little stop here, our final commercial break, as we will go side by side once again, as we will come back to give you the ending of the Southern 200 here at Darlington for the Stars and Stripes throwback season. You're watching it all here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sticking with us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night as you're watching incredible racing here at Darlington for the Southern 200. Stars and Stripes is presented by that of ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing as well, that of Next Level Racing. Get your Next Level Racing rig at Next Level Racing today. Thank you to the major sponsors that help out the Stars and Stripes series, allow us to broadcast this amazing crew. Ross Tatum still out on track. He is on the very different strategy from the rest of the field. Himself and Will Bustler going with a 3-stop strategy, which Zach and myself have been talking about. This is not looking like the net gain that he was hoping for, but who knows what the 21 might be going for here as we are closing in to the latter stages of the race. Haven't had a caution yet tonight, but we had a couple of incidences, and we'll touch on those in just a few moments. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hull. And Zach, Ross Tatum's going backwards, but pit road nowhere to be seen right now.
Yeah, this is interesting, Sam. I thought he would come down at least by around lap 110. Looks like right here, he's not waiting any longer. 114 is when he's going to hit pit road here. And I felt like he had to stop the bleeding at this. The only thing that would have saved him if he kept staying out there longer would have been a caution. So I think maybe kind of stretch it a little farther than what he was planning because he knows it's not going to come back around the win on this race. But Ross Tatum's going to need to get back first on the lead lap after he hits pit road here. Then he's going to have to hope for some type of yellow to bring this race to a halt to allow him to get back inside that top 5. But right now, the big thing for him is if he can get back into the top 10, that'll be, I think, a decent result.
I'm guessing by the mute, Zach's having fun with his dog right now, as we are certainly having the drivers putting on a great show. Again, that odd strategy from Ross Tatum into pit road. I think the ultimate goal, if we stay green, he's going to be aiming for a top 10 position. But the driver that's trying to catch up to Kyle McCoy is going to be this 5 machine of Andrew Hess. The problem for Andrew Hess, the last pit stop back at that lap 50, the 5 and the 28 were right around one another when that of Andrew Hess decided to just give up his position and fell back to about 2 seconds off of where Kyle McCoy was. But for that of Kyle McCoy, he found himself just going out there and just attacking, letting Kyle McCoy attack, push forward, and made him fall back 4 seconds. Now Andrew Hess has a bigger mountain to climb before, and he never even passed Kyle McCoy in that first stint. And I got to say, Zach, this is not looking good for Andrew Hess, even though he's looked so dominant on the long run.
It's definitely not looking good for him. How far the gap is there is he's just pretty far back with, even just that 1 lap fresher tires. I don't think it's going to be that much of an help for him. So he's going to need some help with Kyle McCoy making a mistake. If McCoy gets into that outside wall, maybe hurts that car, that'll give him an opportunity to try to go up there. So we'll see how that works out. But right now, that 28 is looking good.
28's looking good. The 5 trying to find a way to close in the gap. It's now less than 3 seconds. So he's closed in at least 1 second so far, but these laps continue to tick away. Less than 30 laps to go. And right now, I'm going to be seeing how the drivers can attack for positions. Looking through the field, right now the closest battle for position is actually for 10th place. So that's going to be Joshua Robinson and Trey Jackson. Robinson, last time we looked at the 10, found himself being trapped in a very awkward spot of getting into the outside wall, dealing with some heavy damage. Zach, the 10, not staying very long in pit road, only a second of time to get damage repairs, and this could be hurting him as he's being caught by that of the 25 and our leader of Kyle McCoy.
The leader is right there. The 25 is right there, and that's a lot of damage on that 10 machine. First off, that right front is pretty bad off. I guess he just did not want to waste the time coming down the pit road and staying there to get it fixed. And look, he's just going to pull left, let Trey Jackson go by, and Kyle McCoy, just knowing that he's not going to have nothing for this group here. Is now Jackson, he's probably going to like this because now he can let the leader by in a pretty leisureful manner.
And he's not going to have to worry about very much worry here, as actually he's just going to hold steady, allow the leader to go by, and Kyle McCoy breezes that pass as Now Trey Jackson, next driver in front of him is going to be Will Bustler. Bustler is in a very precarious spot. It's still over 3.5 seconds the difference between 9th and 10th position. As we move up to the 6th machine, Bustler came into pit road about that of 5 laps after Ross Tatum, which was still 5 laps sooner than we expected a lot of other drivers to come into pit road. This 6th machine, I think he might be just on the cusp of having to come into pit road one more time, but he certainly should be caught by Trey Jackson before this run is over here tonight.
You can just see how much he's struggling with those tires at the moment, trying to hold on to it. He's got the 22 there of Brian Lynch right behind him. Also the 2 of Mike Lynch, who are both 2 and 3 laps down. But Bustler, I think here, he might be on that cusp of making it here, Sam, but I think also maybe looking to catch himself a caution, at least hopefully before he goes a lap down, because Kyle McCoy is on rails up to him.
Kyle McCoy, there's the 2. That's going to be Mike Lynch who's closing in. He's on fresher tires than these 2 drivers ahead of him. This is all of this group, I should say. None of this is for position. You've got Mike Lynch, who's 3 laps down, Brian Lynch, who's 2 laps down, and then the 6th machine of Wilson's in 9th place on the lead lap. So all these drivers in this shot trying to figure out how, oh no, Wilson, that Will Bustler gets into the wall. That going to be seen. Lynch caught up in that mess as our leader goes on by, and luckily that did not happen 2 or 3 laps later, because Kyle McCoy could have been in the mix of that.
He really could have been. That could have been the worst timing possible. Luckily, he was about a couple seconds back, and Bustler, heavy collision at outside wall, and for the 22 of Brian Lynch, he had really nowhere to go. It was just the worst timing. When someone gets in the wall there off a 2, you try your best to hold it low, but a lot of times they bounce off that wall and kind of get you. And you can see damage left and right of that car, as now Trey Jackson, he'll take over that 9th position and move ahead of that 6th machine.
And Trey Jackson going to be able to make the pass easily for 9th place. This could give an opportunity for Joshua Robinson now, who's closing in, as Robinson ducks low to allow the 5 to drive on by. And Joshua Robinson, he's been so kind to our leaders, letting them by. He's now given an opportunity for the 9 machine. Zach Kreitz is closing in. He could be grabbing 2 more positions before this race is done.
Sometimes you can play a little too nice, as they would say. The 10's just like to get out of those lead lap cars, because he knows he wants that repaid back to him one day when he's coming around to put someone else a lap down. So I do like that, but at the same time, like you said, Sam, it's a push them back here, and it's allowed Zach Kreitz to close down on him. And Kreitz, with the pace he has right now, this should be somewhat of an easy pass for this 9 machine with a much cleaner car, I must say, because he has gotten to the wall also than the 10 machine, who has really knocked down those fenders.
Yeah, the difference between hitting the wall 2 or 3 times compared to just tapping it once or twice is the difference here that you're seeing the 9 machine compared to the 10, as we are closing in to 20 laps to go. And Zach Kreitz licking his chops as he's closing in on this group of drivers to take these 2 positions, and maybe even more, as the difference on that of the 9 machine's pace compared to Trey Jackson. Jackson's being faster, but here comes the scare. How do you navigate past that of competition between yourself and 2 drivers that you're trying to pass for position, as well as closing in on lap traffic? This is when things get tricky, especially on this tough of a course. Zach, this looks almost impossible, because now they're being sandwiched. They've got a lap car in front of this pack of 3, and now a lead lap driver behind them.
You got Thomas Ogle there closing in, like you said there, Sam, and he's not probably loving what he's seeing. He's got about a 2.5 second gap, about a 4.5 second gap back to Scott Rickard, so he doesn't have to worry too much as Bustler. You can see just heavy contact for him there once again off a 2, and that checked everybody up and had a little bit of a scare, I'm sure, there for Ogle as he gets by him. But now he's going to be setting his sights on Kreitz and also Robinson, who is his teammate in the 10 machine, so I don't imagine the 10's going to hold up Ogle too much here, but we'll see how long it takes him to get around Kreitz, as he will clear him down in the 1. That'll give Joshua Robinson a little bit more breathing room to Kreitz, though, so that kind of helped him out with how this situation played out.
That it certainly did, and as that pass was made and Thomas Ogle will survive another lap car, position was made for 6th place, as Kyle Bowling able to get by that of Andrew Medlin. His 24 machine still trying to make his way forward. This is a battle for 6th and 7th position. And these 2 drivers, they can race as hard as they want, but they're in no man's land. There is not enough time for Kyle Bowling to catch up. Jason Grattan, that's about 7.7 seconds ahead. And then behind, Christopher Wade is almost 5 seconds off of this little bickering between these two. So they can race as aggressively as they want, but you got to make sure you don't collect one another. Otherwise, that can be a waste of both positions.
I feel like these two have been glued to the hip on these long green runs. They have just pretty much been around each other the whole time. But Andrew Mellon did pit earlier than Kyle Bowling this last time, so not too surprised to see Bowling able to get out ahead of him here. But at the same time, I mean, Andrew Mellon's still fighting strong there right in the 18. But at some point, I think those older tires on the 18 will start to show up. And even that damage he has on the right front, that's going to be hurting that car still continuously. And Kyle Bowling, like you said, in no man's land along with Andrew Mellon, where pretty much these two, it's all about finishing 6th or 7th now.
And this is the closest battle on track. The other closest battle going to be for 10th place, Joshua Robinson and Zach Kreitz, where Zach Kreitz has been keeping it within a second, but has not been able to close it in on time. The next closest battle would be for the lead. Kyle McCoy and Andrew Hess are still 2 seconds off of one another. I mean, Zach, for second place, Andrew Hess, he's been trying to close in on Kyle McCoy, but McCoy has just been on control. He's figured out the pace on how to be aggressive, but saving just better than Andrew Hess.
This has been, I mean, personally, this has been Kyle McCoy's best race all season long. He has not looked dominant like this in a long time. And personally, this is something that could scare the competition because we weren't sure if he would be able to make it points-wise into those playoffs because not being able to complete enough races to get that lock-in from those wins. But he's going to be close here. If he can race these next 3 races, including here tonight, he could possibly get himself into the playoffs and be a surprise contention for another championship.
I mean, just go from a 3-time champion to a 4-time champion is wild to think, but that is exactly what this 28 machine is trying to aim for. As coming into tonight, he was in that 12th place position in points. He is good if he continues on with this winning form, the way that he's been driving. I mean, Zach, coming into tonight, compared to the rest of the field, Kyle McCoy has only made 8 races compared to the 11 or 12 the rest of the field has made, and he's still up in 12th in points. That is a massive jump, just showing how dominant this 28 machine can be if he had shown up for every single race.
He has been, I mean, it's weird to say he's been off, but he's been good still because he's Kyle McCoy. I mean, off for Kyle McCoy is a top 5 night. You know, we expect him to be in the winner's circle, and closing out this regular season, he's been getting in the winner's circle more regularly than finishing in the top 5. So he's starting to get back to his ways, and I'm not surprised. I figured it would take him a little bit of time to get back used to, you know, this car, the way it drives and such. And it seems like it's really starting to fit him now as we get closer and closer to the end of this regular season, where we know the playoffs, that is Kyle McCoy's time, usually where he shines.
And yes, we do see here on the graphic, in green means Andrew Hess is closing in. When it's in white, means Kyle McCoy is either keeping the distance or growing that last lap. We'll see what this next go-around looks like, but Kyle McCoy, you look at the stats, he is the most winningest driver in Stars and Stripes history, with a total of 24 coming into tonight out of 88 starts. It's an incredible stat. Means he is winning 27% of the time that he shows up for a race. We'll crank that percentage up one more notch if he gets the win here tonight. 10 more laps to go. And for that, Kyle McCoy, all he wants is to see that white flag because it means the next one is going to be the checkered, and there's no chance for a yellow.
This is a great sight to see for Kyle McCoy for sure. Coming in here 12th in points, like you said, this would be a big boost for him here heading into these final 2 regular season races. And, I mean, he is getting closed in on, like you said, and we saw there. But it's just not enough time. He's going to need some type of major mistake, either getting into the wall and checking up to allow Andrew Hess to be within fighting distance of this run, but still got to commend Andrew Hess. I mean, these 2 drivers that are 1st and 2nd, they've done something you normally don't see at Darlington. They qualified 9th and 8th respectively, and right now they're in position to be, 7 seconds, 7 seconds ahead of the next car.
In the next car, the pole sitter, Thomas Ogle, and 2nd place starter of Scott Rickard, going to be 13 seconds of Kyle McCoy. In this race, it has been caution-free all night long. The last time this happened was back at Season 2, where they had 0 cautions. Tim McNally won that race, getting the pole, led the most laps, and got the win. The last time that these drivers were in this car was back in Season 1. They only had 1 caution, and the driver that won that race got the pole and led the most laps. It's the driver that's leading right now, Kyle McCoy, in that 28 machine. I'm trying to do quick math. I don't think Kyle McCoy will have that of the most laps led. He might be close on that number, but this 28 has been incredible. Didn't get the pole, didn't qualify the way that he wanted, but man, has he looked good here tonight.
He really has looked great. I mean, it's been impressive to see him drive through the field and keep the pace that he has. I mean, we talked about how fast Andrew Hess has been on long runs, and it continues to show that Andrew Hess is the fastest car slightly on the long run, but he has to give up more speed than Kyle McCoy has given. And Kyle McCoy has just been more on an average lap time faster than the 5 throughout the race. And that's what's going to come down to be the difference between these two.
6 laps to go. About to hit that of 5 to go here tonight. As Kyle McCoy, if he wins here tonight, he will be tying the most wins this season with Scott Rickard. And Zach, this is giving a little bit of deja vu looking back to Season 3 in the Truck Series, where we saw Scott Rickard look so dominant in the first half of the season. He mounted up so many wins for at the time when Scott was in the 05, and Kyle McCoy rattled off the wins when we were closing in on the playoffs, and then into the playoffs. He had his most dominant run ever. This is looking almost as mirror image to that Season 3 run.
It is almost like deja vu, that's for sure. I mean, it's crazy to think that, but they've been the 2 most prolific drivers in this series, which have had the addition of a lot of other drivers that have really grown the competition level here at Stars and Stripe. But they've definitely been the 2 names that stand out the most when it comes in the season and season out racing. And it looks like we're seeing some similar trends that we've seen in previous seasons for sure.
4 laps to go. About to make it 3 for Kyle McCoy. Again, white flag comes out. The next flag will be the checkered. But if we get a yellow on this lap or the next, we will go to overtime. And these drivers, they don't want to see, I know for sure Kyle McCoy doesn't want overtime. The rest of the field might be wanting overtime for themselves. They can still be grabbing some very crucial positions. Deeper in the field, some other updates on those drivers. Ross Tatum, who went with the 3-stop strategy compared to the rest of the field that went with the 2-stop strategy. 21, he has cracked the top 10. He's gotten by that as Zach Kreitz and Joshua Robinson. 21, doesn't look like there's enough time with 2 laps to go here tonight to get any more positions, but at least getting a top 10 after an odd strategy call by that of Ross Tatum. But up front, it's still Kyle McCoy.
McCoy looks so dominant, Sam. He's going through 3 and 4 for the penultimate time, and all he wants to see is that flag, man. Wave that white flag, and I think we're going to get it.
Out of turn number 4, across the line, it's your freaky fast white flag here tonight. Kyle McCoy, he qualified 9th. Andrew Hess in 2nd place qualified 8th. They had to march their way through the field, but once they got to the top 4, there was no doubt they were going to be the fastest drivers every single time they came into pit road. Kyle McCoy sniffed out, touched the lead, and now marching his way, looking for the chance to go to victory lane. What a run it's been, and out of turn number 4, Kyle McCoy ties this season with 3 wins, winning at the Southern 200 here at Darlington.
And at that, his most dominant one when it comes to speed. So this right here, huge confidence builder if you're on that 28 team. And man, oh man, don't they let this man get into the playoffs, they're going to have some scary feelings, because the way this season shakes out, I think the end of the schedule is very, very preferred for this 28 team.
I mean, I'm looking at some of the drivers that were just in front of this 28 as he's drifting and having his fun. Going to burn it down. For that of Kyle McCoy, Dylan Grimm was 11th in points, Christopher Wade was 10th in points, Kyle Bowling was 9th, Nate Lynch was 8th, Diego Valle was 7th in points. About 3 out of those drivers had terrible nights here. This is massive points for the 28 machine with his 3rd win. I think the playoff bound could be already crowned with 2 races to go for Kyle McCoy, as long as he shows up for these next 2 races.
That's going to be the key, Sam. He's got to make the races. If he can make the next 2 races, he looks very well off to do it. He misses one. He's going to have a great race next, one of these next two, hopefully, if he's going to have a chance there. But tonight was a big moment for this 28 because not only having dominant speed, but this could push him to propel him to make it just on points.
Incredible run, and Kyle McCoy gets to burn it down, and we'll let you enjoy the smoke shows. We step aside. When we come back, it's going to be the post-race show. We talk to our top two and a spotlight driver to get their thoughts on tonight's race. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Stars and Stripes throwback season for the Southern 200 here at Darlington. Getting the win, getting his third of the season and continuing to build on his career wins. It's Kyle McCoy in the 28 machine getting it done. Kyle, what a win here tonight. Zach was saying it all night long. This looked like one of your most dominant wins this season, and now you tie yourself with that of Scott Rickard. Man, how are you feeling after that type of performance here this evening?
Man, that was a fun one. I'm tired, and we went green. I wasn't quite expecting it to go all the way, but that was, yeah, heck of a race. I would. Dominant is probably on the far end of the spectrum for me. I mean, Andrew was coming there at the end. I was really worried he was going to get there after I knocked the fence down on the second stint. It was almost a perfect race. If I hadn't done that, I think I maybe would have been a little more comfortable that last run, but I was sweating bullets there at the end because I saw him getting closer and closer. So Yeah, it was a good win. I'll take it. Absolutely.
He definitely kept you on your heels, Kyle, but congrats on that third win, man. This is a great scene for you because this pushes you up in those points. Hopefully can make those next 2 races, and you should be able to maybe point yourself in there. But talk about the qualifying effort. I mean, you had to come from 9th, man. That's not common for Darlington, especially when we go green, for drivers to work their way through as easy as you did.
Yeah, I don't honestly know what I did on my lap. I think it was just I think it was just slow. And if you're slow, obviously you're gonna start where I did, and I didn't do myself any favors by starting back there. Kind of everybody takes it nice and easy at the beginning of these races, especially here. Kind of allowed me to pick my way through a little bit, and it honestly kind of pulled the reins back on me that first run, and kind of allowed me to understand what I needed to do to make it a full 50 lap tire run. It really wasn't a fuel run; it was a tire run. Yeah, and so it was kind of fun coming back through there. It was fun to get up to where Scott and Tom were battling for the lead. I think kind of rubber banded. We all spread out and came back together there at the end, and then pit stops obviously threw everything for a wrench. But yeah, it was not my best work in qualifying, so got to work on that a little bit. But other than that, I mean, it was fun coming through there, and to keep the car as clean as I did coming up that far was was a win in itself. So.
I mean, it was amazing to watch, Kyle, you going through the field like you did. But I mean, it's kind of a story to the way your regular season has been as a whole. You missed a couple of races, and now you've been marching your way forward. You're technically inside of our top 12 in points, and with a performance like that, you'll be deeper into the points. Zach and I were touching on it. Are you thinking about coming out these next 2 races to try to go for that playoff run, or are you gonna be missing any of these next races?
No, I'm planning on being there. I think my schedule's kind of calmed down, and I should be able to make these races all the way up till the season finale. I was pumped when Nate told me there was still kind of a loophole for me to sneak in. You can't get in on wins if you don't race enough races, but I guess if you still point your way in, you can still get the job done. So it's been it's been cool to to kind of make that run and do it a little differently than usual. I'm gonna have some playoff points locked up when I get there too, which is nice. Those are so much more important than they get credit for. Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. Well, I knew I had to have a good run tonight because Wilkesboro and Talladega are looming the next couple weeks, and I mean, 2 wrecks there, I could still find my way out. So I'm gonna have to be careful. But yeah, we're in a good spot at this point. I'm pumped for the playoffs now. I mean, I give myself about a 25% chance at Bristol when we all get there, but it'll be fun. I got to get there first, and we'll see what happens. So I'm pumped.
Well, based on how you're running right now, it looks like you got a really good shot to go for that 4th championship in this series, Kyle. But before we let you go here tonight, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Thanks, man. Shout out to Nate, Derek, and George, teammates tonight. Didn't have great runs. It's okay. It happens. Place like this is going to eat everybody up at some point. So shout out to you guys for putting on a great broadcast. I'm excited to go back and check this one out. Shout out to everybody else in the league for running a clean green Darlington race. That's hard to do. I know we had a few less guys tonight, but it didn't feel like it out there. You're still just as hard to pass as ever. So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, shout out to the league. Shout out to you guys. And shout out to everybody that puts this on. It's fun to come out here every Thursday night. So I'm pumped to kind of finish out the season and see where we stand.
That's going to be Kyle McCoy. And if you want to hear more from Kyle and his story of racing in this series, go check out his part of the podcast that got uploaded here today, where Kyle McCoy and Zach Hall got to talk with one another. Kyle, congratulations on your 3rd win of this season, and good luck next week at North Wilkesboro.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
That's going to be the 28 machine of Kyle McCoy. And let's go to 2nd place. He said that this driver was hunting and right on his heels. He certainly was doing that. We've got that at the 5 machine. Andrew Hess. Andrew, you come away 2nd this evening, but man, did you look fast on those long runs? What else would you have needed to catch up to Kyle McCoy?
Probably a miracle. I think the first run I probably just gave up too much, and I kind of realized that about halfway through. At one point, I think I gave up like a half a lap before coming back, and I was like, I just can't do that. And I think that probably put the gap in there. But I mean, me and Kyle were kind of mirroring laps there at the end, so I don't know if it would have really made a difference.
Well, Andrew, you definitely gave us something to watch out for sure with those lap times you were turning late into the run. I mean, You know, like you said, you felt like you gave up too much, but how was it managing here tonight? Did you have to make sure, like you said, not to give up too much, or was there, you know, kind of a realm of very easily overworking the tires also?
Um, Probably a little bit of both. It's so with me, I didn't think I had the pace on the first couple laps, so I just kind of got into a nice easy rhythm, and that kind of propelled everything from what I saw in practice and racing here in the past. I just love Darlington, so I think that probably helps to give you a couple tenths.
Hey, it certainly does. If you enjoy this track, I think it does help you in the long run of things. Okay, Andrew, we are now heading into the last two races of the regular season before the playoffs: North Wilkesboro, Talladega, and then playoffs. I know we've talked about it the last couple times we talked to you about the making it into the playoffs and going for that push. How much more are you concerned now that Kyle McCoy is about to point his way into the playoffs, and there some drivers are going to have that bonus of the wins and having the playoff bonus points, and you only having the one win going into the playoffs so far?
I mean, I'm concerned. But it's not really. I kind of just go race by race, so um, I haven't really looked too far at the playoffs other than just the tracks we go to, and then worry about it, I guess. Then, but I think if anything, I'm just worried about Bristol. I don't think I'm that fast there, and I know a couple of the other chase guys or that will be playoff guys are really fast there. So I guess we'll have to do some eliminations early to kind of help myself.
That sounds like a solid game plan. Well, Andrew, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Oh, as always, thanks to you guys for putting on a hell of a broadcast. Try to promote you guys as much as possible and get you guys some recognition because you definitely deserve it. It's one hell of a job, and look forward to watching replays every week. And my teammates, Tom, did a good job tonight too, and he made it real easy to try to go get Kyle there, and he didn't really have to do that in the last run. So I thanks to him.
That's going to be the five machine of Andrew Hess. Congratulations on a second place finish, and good luck at North Wilkesboro next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we go from second place, let's head to our spotlight driver, sixth place finisher in the 24 machine. It's going to be that of Kyle Bowling. Kyle, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, coming away with sixth place finish, up 6 spots from where you started here tonight. It seemed like yourself and Andrew Medlin were attached to the hip all night long. You finally got away from him, and you come away sixth. How do you take away this type of performance you had this evening?
It went better than what I thought I was going to mid race because I was sitting there around that 8th and 9th spot, and I was kind of hovering back and forth between I could kind of hang with Andrew, and then I'd fall back, and I'd have a guy behind me starting to catch up, and I was like, oh, I don't know where I'm gonna, but if I can fall in top 10 here, I'd be happy. But the second run, I kind of hit on something, save the tires a little bit better, especially in 3 and 4, and then I kind of use that to my best advantage there on the last run. I was tracking down 5th there pretty fast at the end.
That you really were, Kyle. You definitely were showing a lot of speed there on the long runs as that race went on. And take us through the strategy, because we did see a few other drivers do the 3-stop. Were you always committed to the 2, though?
Yeah, I was always committed to 2. I probably pitted a little bit earlier than I should have on the first stop, and then had a big slide like 2 laps after that. That cost me a lot of time too. Yeah, I was always on the 2-stop, and then the last stop, I was gonna pit with 50 to go, and I got 50 to go. I'm like, oh, this thing is actually still driving pretty good. I'm gonna let this, go a little longer, and I think that was a good decision in the end.
It really was a good decision coming away again with sixth place. We're now heading to a short track in North Wilkesboro, then Talladega to finish out the regular season. How are you feeling about these next 2 tracks coming up?
I like Wilkesboro a lot. That's a really fun track. Talladaga's Talladega. That's all you can say about that. I think I got a pretty good gap to the cut line at this point. I guess if we get a surprise winner, that could make things a little bit more stressful going into Talladega. But feeling pretty good about where I'm at right now to keep my streak. I haven't missed the postseason yet since I've been in this league, so I don't want to break that streak yet.
We don't want that streak to be broken either. Well, Kyle, gotta say, this was an incredible run for yourself. But I gotta say, excited to see how the playoffs are going to attack. Before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout outs.
Well, just thanks to you guys for putting on a good broadcast. Thanks to all the guys putting on the league and giving us a nice, fun place to race every week.
Well, that is going to be the 24 machine of Kyle Bowling. Congratulations and on that 6th place finish, and good luck next week at North Wilkesboro.
Thanks, guys.
Well, from our spotlight driver, let's take a look at what those unofficial results are looking like here tonight. From that of the Stars and Stripes Southern 200 here at Darlington Raceway. And we had a lot of ups and downs early in this race. A lot of drivers taken out. Craziest thing, though, no cautions. And Zach, it's another race with no cautions here for the Stars and Stripes.
That is wild, Sam. It's not out of the realm here because no stage cautions, but this league is known to do this multiple times. And when you get spread out here at Darlington, that's what kind of happens.
And here's going to be where the top 10 drivers are going to finish out. Kyle McCoy going to be coming away with his third win of the regular season here for season 6, with that of Andrew Hess going to be in second. Thomas Ogle coming away third. Scott Rickard fourth. Jason Gratton fifth. Sixth goes to Kyle Bowling. Seventh goes to Andrew Medlin. Eighth goes to Christopher Wade. 9 goes to Trey Jackson. And Zach Kreitz coming away 10th. And Zach, surprisingly, Ross got bounced out of the top 10.
It was actually kind of crazy, Sam. Right as you were talking about him going into the top 10, the next lap he bounces off the wall and lets Kreitz back by him. So Ross Tatum, I think he's going to come out of here tonight saying, well, you know, man, I probably kind of messed up that strategy a little bit by pitting that early in the first run. But I like that he stuck to it. You know, he didn't try to change it up too much. He really stuck to being aggressive with it, and that's what tried to get him the best finish he possibly could. But as you see the rest of that leaderboard there's some tough finishes for some guys like Dylan Grimm, Diego Valle. I mean, these were important races right here to try to make yourself into the playoffs. And with the way it's going to be close here, especially if someone in these next 2 races outside the top 12 gets a win, that could really shake things up even that much more.
Yeah, that's the one thing that a lot of these drivers that are inside, that are right at the cut line of the playoffs, very much concerned about. If someone outside gets a win, and Talladega in 2 weeks is going to be the big wild card race because anyone can win at the super speedways. But for tonight, it's been a long one here, 147 laps, but these drivers made it a show. No yellow flags, and it was Kyle McCoy getting the win. If you want more great racing here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, don't look too far ahead. It's going to be Saturday night as the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series drivers head to Twin Ring Motegi for the second time this season, but it's going to be at the Oval Course. Can't wait for it, and then we're right back to more coverage next week on Monday as we get to see the ISRC truck drivers take on their first playoff race. And drivers are already practicing, getting ready for that run. Then on Tuesday, it's the Full Send Racing Series with their truck series. Wednesday's going to be seeing the Wicked Racing League as they're coming to the conclusion of their regular season very quickly here. And we're right back here, Zach, Thursday night. Stars and Stripes, it's going to be a good one, these last 2 races of the regular season.
These last 2 are shaping up, Sam. You know, North Wilkesboro next week here after Darlington. That's a great track, I think, to follow it up. 2 very historic tracks that could put on some big shows, which Darlington already did, going green all the way tonight with seeing Kyle McCoy, that 3-time champion, get his 3rd win of the season. These next 2, they have got all the writings on them to be very much, drama-filled, possibly with nerves on the line of drivers trying to get into that top 12 in points to have a shot at a championship.
A championship so coveted, and so many drivers aiming for the glory. Well, we can't wait to give you more of that coverage in these upcoming weeks. But for tonight, thank you for joining with us. My name is Sam Dyer. With me was Zach Hall and Robert Warrior Jr. running productions here this evening. And for everyone else at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. And we'll see you on our next broadcast. It's going to be Saturday night for the WSSR as they're ready to head back to Japan. Cannot wait for it. How will Twin Ring Motegi handle with the Cup cars? We'll see you then. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.